Okay, so now we're entering into the next part of this chapter. So stress flow lines. So here we're going to understand about a concept called as stress concentration. So this concept, like distinguishes, or we are going to come from a stage of strength of materials to machine design. So in fact, like the dynamic loading is the first concept we have studied till now after the basic static loading. So the second concept is stress concentration here. So which you're going to study now. Okay, everybody. So stress flow lines. So before coming to stress flow lines, I would like to explain you about velocity flow lines, which is very simple to understand. Imagine there is a pipe. So the pipe is like this. It is having larger area, and here it is having a smaller area here. Now here, liquid is flowing. So whatever liquid is flowing from here, the same liquid is coming out here. So if the liquid is flowing through this, so I'm putting 5 lines here. So this go on like this and they will come out. So 5 lines here. Okay. So let's assume that the velocity at this one is 5 meters per second. So V1 is equal to 5 meters per second. So we should get the value of V2 here. Okay. Let's assume A1 is equal to 1 meter square here. So A2 value, let's take it as 0.5 meter square. Understand? So we know that law of conservation of mass says that mass, whatever it is going inside, should come out here. So because mass is not getting accumulated here. Okay, so whatever mass that is flowing through first inlet should come out to second inlet. Mass flow rate is nothing but density into volume flow rate. So volume flow rate 1 is equal to rho into volume flow rate 2. And this density rho both are same because we consider liquids to be incompressible. So we get volume flow rate 1 is equal to volume flow rate 2. It is nothing but A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. Area into velocity is equal to area into velocity. A1 V1 is nothing but 5 into 1 or 1 into 5. So this becomes V2 into 0.5. So this V2 will become 1 by 2, 10 meters per second. So you see that here velocity at the exit is equal to 10 meters per second, which is double that value there. And we also observe that here this particular 5 lines are loosely packed and here the 5 lines are closely packed here. So one thing we can understand from this particular diagram or these velocity flow lines is, if the velocity flow lines are closely packed, that means higher velocity. If the velocity flow lines are loosely packed, that means lesser velocity. That's the understanding we can get from this particular velocity flow lines here. So I'm writing down here. If the velocity flow lines are loosely packed, then there is less velocity as compared to the case where they are closely packed. Understand? So this is the information we can get just by looking into velocity flow lines. So I hope it is very clear. It's a very simple thing. And anyways, fluid mechanics is over, so I don't think this explanation is required. You can directly go with the step that A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. Substituting the values, will be getting D2. You understand that velocity is higher, here velocity is lesser. So wherever velocity flow lines are closely packed, they will be having higher velocity as compared to the case where velocity flow lines are loosely packed there. So kindly copy everyone. So we'll go with the next concept. So we're studying about stress flow lines. So before understanding what is stress flow lines, we're going with velocity flow lines. That's it. So understood what are velocity flow lines. So similar to this, we have stress flow lines which we're gonna use in this particular chapter. So let's understand about them. Okay. Okay. I'm taking a stepper shaft which is having different area of cross sections. So stepper shaft itself means it should be having different areas. So let's assume the shaft is like this. It's having larger area here. It is a having lesser area here. Okay, so it's a solid shaft. So let's assume here area of cross section is A. So here area of cross section is equal to A by 2. Okay, I'm going with a simple tension case. So a load P is applied here. So you know that the body should be in equilibrium, or net force should be 0 if it has to experience stress. So P this side means another P that side. So let's find out stresses at these two areas of cross section. So here stress is equal to given by P by A, but here stress comes out to be 2P by A, because P by A by 2, so 2P by A here. So let's assume this P by A value is equal to 5 megapascal. So here it becomes 10 megapascal here. Understand? 5 megapascal. So here it becomes double the value because 2P by A is there. To show this stress variation, I am using lines here. So 5 megapascal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these 5 lines should go on like this, and they will converge, or they will come near like this, and they will come out of the other area of cross section here like this. So these lines which are showing the variation of stress are called as stress flow lines. Okay, so these are similar to velocity flow lines only. So velocity flow lines were showing or telling or giving the data about velocity variation along the length, or velocity variation at different locations. In the same way, they are giving rise to, these stress flow lines are giving rise to or letting us know the variation of stress at different locations. So here we can understand wherever the lines are loosely packed, the stress is lesser as compared to the case where, or compared to the location where the lines are tightly packed there. Okay, so if the stress flow lines are loosely packed, stress is lesser as compared to the locality where the lines closely packed. Okay, so these stressful lines are just for comparison, just to have an idea. Okay, these are not for finding out the absolute value of stress at any location. Okay, so if you just have the data like this, if you just have the diagram, in fact the diagram here, you can simply say stress here will be lesser as compared to here. That's it. That's all the data you can get. But this itself will help us a lot in understanding how the metal is behaving, whether the metal will fail or not. So whether the metal is completely safe or not, everything we can understand. So which we are going to learn in coming slides here. Understood? So kindly copy this. So we'll study why we are going to that. Once you are done copying, we'll go with the things that why we are going with these stressful lines. What is the requirement based upon which we are going with these stressful lines here? Okay? Kindly copy everyone. Okay. Now look into this picture here. You can see two pictures. So both are square cross-section bars. So they are having holes, notches, etc. So the left one is having a hole and second is having a notch. We see that in the vicinity of that particular hole or the notch, the stress flow lines are very near to each other. I hope everybody can recognize that. So at the vicinity of that hole or the notch, stress is higher. Okay, so whatever stress is there at the other locations, that is lesser as compared to the stress at the discontinuity or the blowhole or the hole or the notch here. So we can understand that one very easily just by looking into the diagram which is having stress flow lines. So I hope you guys have understood by now what is the usage or what is the main advantage of using stress flow lines. Clear? Now let's understand why the stress will increase at some location. Okay. That means in practical sense, why we come up with the cases where stress has to be increased to a higher value, or why stress is going to a higher value in some locations. I am repeating once again. We understood that stress flow lines will be helping us to know where stress is going beyond a nominal value or expected value at some locations. So wherever the stress flow lines are very near to each other, that means there the stress is very high or stress is higher. Wherever stress flow lines are very far away from each other, that means stress is lesser. Okay. Now you are going to understand in the first place why this type of discontinuities, holes, notches are created, and they are giving rise to stress to go to a higher value here. Why these are actually created? Okay. Now listen properly here. If you have a crankshaft, okay, so fuel is burnt and power is produced in the engine, and as you all know that we will be using slider crank mechanism to produce or convert the reciprocatory motion of the piston to rotatory motion of the crank. So based upon the energy based upon the fluid, based upon the fuel burnt in the combustion chamber, you will be getting energy output in the crankshaft. Okay, so crankshaft will be rotating there. Now this particular crankshaft will be attached with gears, etc., like that. Okay, so whatever the rotating shaft is there, that should be attached with a gear so that power can be transmitted. Sometimes the shaft will be attached with a flywheel also. So in theory of machines, you are going to understand why we require a flywheel. Okay, so one separate chapter is there for flywheels. So anyways, so we should be attaching. So we'll be thinking about attaching a rotating shaft with respect to or along rotating shaft to a gear or a flywheel. So how we are going to achieve that? How we can join it? So we're going to achieve the joining, or we're going to join the both the elements in this way here. You can see in this particular animation. So what happening is basically we are making a keyhole for both shaft and also this particular disc or the gear, and this particular key is meant to or made to go into the keyhole. So this key will join both the shaft and also the gear. So if the shaft is rotating, automatically gear will rotate. If the shaft is rotating, automatically gear will rotate. If the gear is rotating, automatically shaft is rotating. That means whatever the power is there or whatever the motion is there in the shaft, that can be easily transmitted to the gear, or whatever it is there in the gear, that can be transmitted to the shaft. So I am drawing the diagram in a more clear way. So here, this is the shaft. It is like this. Okay. So if the shaft is rotating, if the power input or motion input is given to the shaft, this gear also will rotate. If it is given to the gear, this also rotate here. So to produce this, we are using, that means to transmit the power, we are using a key. If you don't use a key, we cannot join the both of them. Understand? Imagine that like this shaft is attached inside the hole of a gear. So if the shaft is rotating, automatically the motion cannot be transmitted very easily here. The shaft will be going on rotating like that, and the gear will be like this only. If there is some keyhole, what happens is, if the shaft is rotated, automatically the gear also will rotate. If the gear is rotating, automatically shaft will also rotate. So the motion will transmit only when there is a key. So there is a problem due to the introduction of this keyhole and key here. Due to keyhole, the shaft will be having a cross-sectional area like this. So at this location, if you take the shaft will be having a cross-sectional area like this. We ideally expect shaft to be a cylindrical circular cross-section. So in SOM, whatever you studied, basically here, torque is being transmitted from shaft to the gear. So torsion concept also will be coming into the picture here. So in SOM subject, we considered that shaft is a cylindrical object, and directly we took this particular J value as pi d power of 4 by 32 and substituted and got the values, whatever are required. Shear stress value, torque value, all these things here. But in real scenario, what's happening? So when you are taking a shaft, because we cannot join a shaft using a keyhole or something else, okay? Without keyhole or something else. Something should be there, so the shaft will be joined with some gear or etc. Then only we can produce a machine, or we can transmit some motion or energy. Otherwise, shaft will be shaft only. It will be an individual element and it will be of no use. So due to the introduction of this keyhole, what happened is we have decreased the area of cross section. Initial area of cross section is higher. Here area of cross section is lesser here. So area got decreased here. So if you are using this particular shaft as a tensile member, let's see how the stress flow lines are coming up. So I am dropping this here. If you are using it as a tensile member if shaft without keyhole. So this is without keyhole here. And this is with keyhole. So I'm taking tensile case here. So tensile stress flow lines will be like this. If it is having a keyhole, so stress flow lines will be like this. Here they will come near. So they are coming near to each other. So in this region, stress will be higher. Understand? So this is tensile loading case. Now I'm taking torsional loading case. In fact, the animation which is shown here is torsional loading case itself, because shaft will be rotating. Okay, so the shaft is rotating and experiencing torque means it will experience torsion. So due to torsion at a cross-sectional area, it will experience shear stresses. So if you take this shaft without a keyhole, this particular shear stress flow lines will be like this. Okay, but due to the introduction of keyhole, what happens is these stress flow lines will be coming near to each other in the vicinity of this particular keyhole. So in this region, stress is going beyond the value here. For example, if you take this particular simple tension case, so stress is equal to given by 4p by pi d square, simple nominal stress, okay, which is supposed to be here. In this location, stress will be higher than this value, okay. And if you take torsion case, we know that shear stress due to torsion is equal to 16t by pi d cube, okay. So this is for this case, this is also for this case here. So instead of being tau to be 16t by pi d cube, at these two locations, shear stress will be higher than this value. Stress is going beyond that. So in SOM, we never considered this particular conditions. We simply considered that shaft means it will be having cylindrical shape, that's all. But in real scenario, shaft is no longer being a cylindrical member, and due to the changes which are done due to the requirement of joining between the elements, we are observing that stress is going beyond the calculated value which we got it using SOM formula here. So it's a very serious concern, because if this particular nominal value, because our understanding is that whatever stress is produced, that is sigma 4p by pi d square or 16t by pi d cube, if these values are less than the strength of the metal is fine. The metal not going to fail. That is understanding which we got from SOM. But here what's happening? Stress at these locations is more than 16t by pi d cube. Stress at this location is more than 4p by pi d cube. Then there is definitely a chance that the stresses at these locations are going beyond strength of the material. If you make sure these values are less than, stresses in these cases are less than the strength of the metal, that is fine. But that is not enough, because in this case what's happening? There is a chance that the stress produced here, which are higher than these values, can go beyond strength of the material and failure will happen. That's the reason why we should be very serious about the increase of stress which is produced like this. And we call this particular phenomena as stress concentration. So stress concentration means what? So at that location something is more than expected value. So here it is stress. So wherever wherever some blowholes are there, wherever some these type of keyholes are there, some disturbance is there. We are going to study about these cases or reasons due to which stress concentration is produced in the coming slides. So due to some reason at some location, stress will go beyond some nominal value. Nominal value means the value which we get using SOM calculations. Okay, stress will go beyond these values, beyond nominal values, and that phenomena we call it as stress concentration. So we see that stress is going beyond the nominal value. Clear? So kindly put this definition here. I don't think something is confusing or something is a little bit difficult. So if you have any doubt, you can feel free to ask me. Kindly copy the diagrams and all, and then put this title or definition from the slide here. Come on, everyone. stress means internal resistance. So on increasing magnitude of stress at particular point, so it should not at the verge of failure, but told it will fail easily when stress concentration accumulated. Okay, complete this. I'll tell you. I'll clear your confusion. For your better understanding, in the definition itself, beside that word nominal stress, write down stress calculated by formulae of SOM. So always remember, okay, so whatever the knowledge you have, whatever the knowledge you have from some subject, using that, whatever the value of stress you are going to get, that's called as nominal stress itself. Simply I'll ask you a question. The shaft is experiencing torsion. What is the value of shear stress on the periphery? So simply you'll say tau is equal to 16 dy by pi d cube. How you got? Based upon knowledge from SOM. That itself is the nominal stress. Okay. Is it done, everybody? Okay. So I'm rubbing remaining things here. So I told you that wherever the stress is going beyond the nominal value, there's a high chance that the higher value of stress can go beyond the strength of the material and failure can happen. So you can see from few pictures here where failure is happened due to that reason itself. So I already told you that when a shaft is having a keyhole and if it is experiencing torsion, I said that in this region stress is going to be very high, as shown you in the previous picture. So there is a high chance that the stress at this location can go beyond the strength of the material. So here failure happened from this location itself. So cracks started propagating from here. You can see the picture, left picture there. So cracks started propagating from the vicinity of the keyhole, because at the vicinity of the keyhole stress reached a higher value than the strength value of the material here. In the same way, you take the second picture, that is bolted joint or basically a simple bolt. So bolt will be having lesser area of cross section in the thread region. So if I take the bolt, so bolt will be having a head. So I'm taking the side view here. It is a non-threaded region and we have threaded region here. So later in the second chapter, we are going to understand that bolted joints will be experiencing tensile loads. So when you tight bolt and nut, the whole assembly will be experiencing tensile stresses. So tensile stresses means you should be drawing tensile stress flow lines. But here, larger area is there in the non-threaded region, and in the threaded region we have lesser area. So if you do the comparison, here they are little bit loosely packed, and here they are tightly packed here. So to understand in a more better way, I will make this threaded region or this bolt to have deeper threads. So let's assume it is like this. So what happens? The stress flow lines have to come near. These stress flow lines have to come near. So here stress is higher. So simply we expect stress to be sigma is equal to 4p by pi d square, where d is equal to this value here. But in this case d is lesser because area of cross is lesser here. So there is a high chance that in this region stress can be more than 4p by pi d square. So if failure happens, it should start from in this region only, because this is the place where highest value of stress is there. That's the reason why if you see the second picture, the bolt got broken from the threaded region only. So if you just go with the ideal concepts of SWARM, that will not recognize this concept of stress concentration. They will not recognize the concept of stress concentration. So this is the requirement here. So you should understand the effect of stress concentration. You should be very careful in designing the components. Okay? Clear? So to understand the stress concentration in a more detailed way, let's understand the causes of stress concentration first of all. So there are many cases of stress concentration, the reasons of stress concentration. One of the most important causes are these three, which are shown on the secondary screen. Discontinuities, like we have seen, notch is a discontinuity. There is no continuity of the material. Blowhole, is a discontinuity. There is no continuity of the material. Okay. Second one is change of cross-sectional area. Example, this one. We maintained a larger area here and then suddenly decrease the area of cross-section. So abrupt change of area of cross-section will cause stress concentration. So stress is going to be higher in the region where area is lesser. Okay. So later we're going to discuss regarding this thing also. First of all, you copy this. So I'll tell you how point loads can cause stress concentration. Then we'll go to the next concept. Kindly copy the causes here after drawing all these pictures and all. Mohammed Anas Khan Danish. What is the value of stress at point loads? At point loads, stress due to stress concentration, stress will increase. So there you have to find out at that location how much is the how higher is the value of stress than the nominal value. That's all. There is no specific value to say it will be increased by 3 times, 4 times like that. We are going to study about a concept called as stress concentration factor. If you know the factor at that location, we can multiply with the nominal stress and you can get the answer. Yeah, it will try to tend towards infinity, but it's not the case because like we don't have the scenarios where area is tending towards 0. So generally stress will tend towards infinity if a force is acting at an area of location where the area is tending towards 0. But though theoretically we call the load is acting at a point, due to the material's deformation, what happens is some area will be generated. Understand? Some area will be generated. Okay, so the metals will deform. For example, you take a tire. So like you take a vehicle. So vehicle tire, if you see, ideally speaking, there is a point contact between the tire with the ground. But in real scenario, you see, due to the weight of the vehicle and weight of the tire also, the tire will deform and cause little amount of area contact there. Understood? So, so ideally speaking, stress should go towards infinity, but that will not happen in real scenario. Clear, Mohammed Anas Khan Danish? Okay. So wherever any doubt is not clear, feel free to ask me. Okay. If you are not able to get your doubts clarified in the classroom, you cannot get them clarified anywhere else. Don't think that you can get from textbook or somewhere else. Okay. So you ask me again. So I'll be patient. Enough to clear your doubts there. My objective is everybody in the classroom should have the 100% knowledge. You should get 100% knowledge and there should be zero confusion about the concepts you have learned in the classroom. Understand? Clear? So kindly remember that one. Please don't hesitate. Okay. So I forgot about doubt of Makesh here. So what Makesh was telling was, let me see his doubt. Makesh was telling that stress means internal resistance. So on increasing magnitude of stresses at particular point load, a particular point, so it should not at the verge of failure, but told it will fail. So what Makesh is telling that stress definition is internal resistive force per unit area of cross section inside the body. Okay. So if you are increasing stress, what's happening is the material is developing more amount of internal resistive force per unit area. So it should be good. It is actually producing more internal resistive force per unit area or more internal resistive stress inside its body. It should be good. That is the thing which Makesh has understood. So I'm clearing the doubt here. I'm going with the definition of stress. So in a brief way here. Makesh, listen properly. So if you take a component like this, you are applying some external force P here. So what happens is when you are trying to elongate the body, the metal will try to produce internal resistive force of the same magnitude which will be trying to contract. So if the load, external load is trying to elongate, the internal resistive force will try to bring it to the original condition. If the external load is trying to contract, so or compress, so the load will try to expand or bring it to the original condition. Okay. So stress definition is actually given by R by area. Okay. So R by area here actually, understand? So in this case, R is equal to P. So it will become P by A here since R is equal to P here. Now in this case, it is good. When we are applying a load, the material is resisting some internal resistive force to overcome applied force here. Understand? When P is not there, R cannot be produced. Without P, R can never be produced here. So R is getting produced due to the application of P. Understand? Okay. But every material has a limit of producing R. R cannot go beyond some value. In other way, R cannot go beyond some value means R by A cannot go beyond some value. That means R by A or sigma is having some limits, after which it will fail. That is called as nothing but failure stress or basically strength of the material. You are able to understand everyone? We are again discussing the same concept but in a different way here. So every metal will have a maximum value of R or some value of R it can resist here. It cannot produce any value of R. Okay, based upon the any value of P here. So when R by R is reaching some limit means R by A can reach some particular limit. R by A is reaching some particular limit means sigma is reaching some particular limit. Okay, so beyond which the metal cannot sustain the stress. Okay, so that we are calling it as failure stress. So what is the objective is we should make sure this R to be as much less as possible. Okay, so this R like internal resistive force is actually produced to resist the value of P here. If P itself is not there, R is not there, right? If P itself is not there, R will not come at all. There is nothing to resist there. Okay, so imagine that like something is acting, some pressure is there and you are resisting the pressure. It is not great as compared to the case where no pressure itself is there. You have to understand here, you are carrying some load and bearing it. Okay, so another case, like this is the case where you are bearing some load. Another case is there itself no load at all. So there will be no R here. R is equal to 0 here. As compared to this thing, this case is very good case, right? There is no applied force at all. There is nothing to resist here. Understand? So this is the case where load is being carried. Okay, so here there is no load at all. So we expect our load, we expect our body to have as much less as internal resistive force as possible, R. That means in the other way we expect stress to be as much less as possible. So here due to stress concentration what happening? Stress is going beyond the limit value or stress is going beyond the produced value there. So what happens here? The stress, if it is going beyond the strength of the metal will fail. Clear now? So you have the misconception that R should be as much high as possible. That's not the case here. We expect R should be as much less as possible. Makesh, clear? So another doubt here, Dinesh Reddy. Is the max R by A value for any material is yield stress? Yes. If it is a ductile material, we can say R by A. Max R by A in the sense like, not talking mathematically. What is the R the metal can take till yielding? Because in ductile material we say once it yields, we will not use it. Okay. The value of R by A, okay, till yielding will be equal to SYT. Obviously, because R by A is stress, it should become SYT value there. Okay. And if you take a brittle material, the value of R by A that can be taken up to fracture is nothing but SUT or fracture stress. So we are saying the same thing. Earlier I said A is equal to B, now I am saying B is equal to A, that's it. In the reverse I am telling it here. Okay, so only thing was earlier I used that stress should, once stress reaches yield point, the metal will fail. Now what I am saying is, once R by A reaches yield point, the metal will fail. That's the only difference here, that's it, nothing more than that. Clear, Dinesh Reddy? Okay, so we have understood that this particular discontinuities, change in cross-section area will be causing stress concentration here. So let's see how point loads also will be causing stress concentration. So there is nothing much to study here. Point loads means load is acting at a point or basically area of cross-section is almost tending towards 0. Okay, so let's take a bearing here. So we're going to study in a detailed way regarding bearing. So here bearing will be having a shaft. This shaft is attached with a hole. Imagine the shaft is kept inside a hole and the gap between the shaft circumference and the hole circumference is filled with spherical balls here. So these are all spherical balls. Now if a load is acting on the shaft, so this is like this, a load is acting on the shaft. If the load is acting on the shaft, so the load will be going onto the shaft and the shaft will apply the load on these bearing balls here. So what happens is this particular load will be going on to these 3 balls here, whichever are at the bottom here. Now if you see, this particular load is going from the shaft to the ball through a point, very very small point here, through a point here. So if I ask you what is the stress at this location, sigma is equal to P by A, but here A is tending towards 0. I mean, theoretically, sigma will be tending towards infinity. So anyways, sigma tending towards infinity means it's going to be a very, very higher value. Okay, but in real scenario, it will not become indefinite value or infinite. Clear? So stress is increasing due to this condition that load is passing through a point here. Load is passing through a point here. Understood? That's the reason why we try to avoid as much amount of point contacts as possible, because stress concentration will occur, and due to that, there is a high tendency that failure will happen at those locations. Understood, everybody? Clear? Shall we go ahead? So let's understand a little bit more about stress concentration in a more qualitative way. We'll be using some equations and all, and find out how much it's going to increase. So till now I said every time wherever there is some discontinuity, there is some point contact, there is some reason due to which stress is increasing, stress will increase. That's all I was saying till now. So here also I said that stress is increasing to higher value there. Now we are going to study how it's going to increase, how much it's going to increase, what is the factor by which it's going to increase. So we are going to study in a little bit qualitative way.